Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on our webinar today for Qt for Python. My name's Erica, and I'm going to be the host here for both your Zoom webinar and for Facebook Live. So if you are joining us for Facebook Live, thank you. And if you're joining us through Zoom, thank you also for joining us. A couple little things here. We are recording the event, so we will be making that available to everyone who has been registered through Zoom. If you would like to also get the recording, if you're on Facebook Live, please register on the link below. Also, if you have any questions during the event, if you're on the Zoom platform, can you please put that into the Q&A? We would be happy then to answer the questions at the end of the event. Facebook Live also, if you can comment, we'll be sure to answer those live. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our presenter today, Christian Mariera Ferredes.
Okay, hello everyone, and thanks for joining. I'm really happy that today we have the option to discuss this new shiny project in the Qt company, Qt for Python. And I want to emphasize that, of course, since this is the first webinar that we are having for Qt for Python, I will try to keep things brief, and I would like to try to integrate in the talk about people that is just entering the Python world and also the Qt world. So maybe you will encounter some general topics that are being explained, but I will try to reach all type of audience with this. And of course, in the future, we are planning maybe more specified like webinars regarding any topic that we have in the future. So a little bit about myself. My name is Christian. I recently joined the Qt company, and I'm working full-time in Qt for Python since January. And let's go for it. So, as I said, I would like to emphasize a few points first of Python. Then I would like to go and give an overview of the Qt project. And then we will dive into Qt for Python. And for this, I also would like to touch topics like the history of the project, why we are doing this, and which are the plans for the future. And of course, we'll have a couple of examples that I will try to show you later, like on a live coding session. So Python, first of all. So I am pretty sure that most of you are already heard about Python, and that's why your main motivation to be here today, right? So of course, if you already know about things about Python, you know like all the features, that is a high level language, it's general purpose, you have like different paradigms, and also that is nice dynamical typing. But one of the reasons when the Python was created was code reliability, because compared to other old languages, it was really complicated sometimes to get things done and even to understand other people's code. And on the same idea, if we take a look, for example, for the principles that the Qt API was designed for, we encountered that besides minimal, complete, and intuitive API, we also have that it will try to lead to readable code. This means that if you have any type of, for example, a window and you have, for example, to set the title, the method that you can access the functionality will be quite easy to understand, and it will be something like set window title, which is quite nice if you are new to some framework to understand what is happening under the hood. So a little bit of the scope. Many people think when they heard Qt or the Qt project that is just a graphical user interface framework, but it's much more than that. And among some functionalities and things that you can get when you start using Qt is, of course, that you are able to even like create command line applications with Qt from C++. You have different features that allows you to interact with modules like SQL, XML, JSON, OpenGL, going deeper with thread management. We also have a really nice IDE that is called Qt Creator. If you don't know it, I encourage you to download it and give it a try, which is really an IDE on steroids. It's quite nice. But the most important thing for me is that Qt introduced something to the framework that is quite crucial to every modern software development environment, which is the interaction between objects. And when I say the interaction between objects, is that to allow and provide a system that avoid all this boilerplate that you could encounter when you want two type of objects to interact with each other. And this is something that in Qt is called signals and slots. Maybe you heard of it. If not, it's quite simple to understand. It's something that you will have a certain object that will be maybe an element in your graphical user interface, or maybe some elements in some code that will have some kind of signals. And when these signals are emitted, you will have some slots that you will be able to do something about it. For example, when you click a button, then you have a signal that the button was clicked, and then you are able to provide some kind of infrastructure to see, okay, what I would do with this button. I would just show a message, or maybe I will deploy my application to the cloud, and so on and so forth. So one of the other goodies that are in the Qt project is the QML. So maybe you are familiar with this, and if not, it is just a declarative language that allows you to really quickly design graphical interfaces, as you can see, for example, in the example on the right. And the main idea behind this was to focus on mobile devices and embedded systems and so on and so forth. And one of the nice features of this is that, of course, all this high-level programming can be connected to some C++ native code. And this is quite nice performance-wise. So, of course, you can have the performance from Qt with something really simple. But in the Qt company, we wanted to go further on this. So what was the main goal when everything behind the Qt for Python project started is that we wanted to expose everything to Python, because you are aware that most of modern modules are written in Python. Most of the science that we have nowadays is using Python, and the same. And as you can see, like any ratings or everything that Python development, the community is growing almost exponentially. So it's something really important that we really wanted to be a part of it. So with this, Qt for Python was born. But before going deeply, there has been a lot of confusion that we have maybe sometimes on our mailing list or IRC channel that people don't get, like, what is Qt for Python? What is PySide? So for this, I just want to briefly tell you that what are the main difference. So Qt for Python is the project. It's a project that hosts many different things that we are currently developing here at the company. First of all, and the most important one that we have, is the PySide 2 module. So this is just exposing everything that we have in the Qt classes to Python. So we are able, from the Python side, to develop any Qt application. And of course, if you know a little bit about Python, this is avoiding all the issue that sometimes is related to compiling C++ application, that maybe when you have a simple window is not much struggle, but when you have really difficult and large projects that you have in C++, sometimes you can have really a bad time trying to figure out why you have some compiling problem or whatsoever. The other thing that is under the Qt for Python project is Shiboken. Shiboken is the tool that we are using to generate all these Python bindings. So in the next slides, I will tell you more a little bit about this nice project that also we have. And in development, like a little bit of like a spoiler for the future, that we are working on a better way to integrate Qt Creator with PySide. So this is at the developer level, that of course having some nice features embedded in the editor of Qt Creator, but also we are thinking of allowing users to maybe write some plugins for Qt Creator using Python. And of course, I mean, this is still in development topics, but it's something that we really wanted to tell you. So a little bit of history, and I promise this will be short. Just for you to understand, I mean, PySide started with Qt 4, and if you're aware, we are already in Qt 5.11. So it started back in the day with there were some relations from the Qt project with Nokia, and then the development started to grow really nicely. But the problem with, after a couple of years, the amounts of maintainers were decreasing, and there was like the development was a little bit stalled. But then back in the 2015, after Qt 5 was out, there was a lot of effort by the remaining community to start to port the old PySide module related to Qt 4 to using Qt 5. So currently, we can say that since 2016, the Qt company announced that they were officially supporting Qt for Python and the PySide module. So a team of people started to work and try to get all the new features from Qt 5 to work with the new module PySide. And to avoid confusion, they decided to call PySide 2. So our main goal now is to become a first-class citizen in Qt 5, that for everyone that wants to use Qt, they will be able to use C++ or Python seamlessly without much effort. So how does this project work? I mean, if you're not familiar with what is a binding or a programming language binding to one to another, the process can be simplified as following. So we already mentioned that we had a tool that is called Shiboken. And this tool, what it does is going to the Qt source code, and it's taking the information from them with a nice library called Clang, and it's taking the information of all the classes that we have in Qt. So getting information about the type of methods that we want to use, what is the behavior that inside we have, everything. But also, since of course, if you're familiar with C++ and Python, there are some things that are not quite compatible. I mean, maybe of course you have heard about pointers or maybe reference or this kind of things that of course are not really valid in Python. So for this, there is a type system, which is mainly an XML file when we can write whatever we want and modify the information that we are getting. So of course, you know that if we have an integer in C++, then thanks to our type system, we can say, okay, so this integer will be an integer in Python. And many other features that, of course, you will discover if you are interested to learn more about Shiboken. So after this process, Shiboken smartly enough generates codes, like in C code, that will be compatible with Python. So this means that once we have this code generated, we can compile it and provide you for the module PySide 2. So I was talking about Shiboken. So this is a generator of bindings that was written from scratch from the first team that started to develop PySide. And it was highly inspired in Boost Python. So maybe you have heard about it. That's a really nice way of generating bindings for Python. But the problems that at the end they encountered some issues with the size of the bindings that they were generating. There was some code that they were not really using, but was being generated anyways. And we're talking about 2014. So of course there were not many binding generators out there. So they said, okay, let's take the main idea from Boost Python and start to write our own. At the beginning, of course, it was highly dependent of Qt. So we, of course, we're just using it for Qt libraries. But then the people were smart enough to say, okay, but maybe we can provide and provide users for like a generator that is not really bound to Qt. So nicely, after this discussion, we are able to generate any type of like wrapper that we have from any C++ project. Of course, not every piece of software is perfect. We still have a lot of development going on, and we are every day improving it. And but most of the C++ projects will have no problem of using Shiboken to being exposed to Python. So, okay, so after all this story and all the details of Qt for Python, I would like to show you more like. So if you're familiar with it, this is the first example that you can encounter. Maybe you already visited our wiki page or something, and we have it here. I mean, if you're familiar with Python, we have at the beginning just the import statements that we are using the PySide module, as I previously mentioned, to import from the Qt widgets module that we have a Q application and a Q label. So we are generating creating an application in Qt. Then, of course, we are starting to set up our label. We are showing our label, and then, of course, we execute the applications. So let's have a brief look of this code. So we have it here. So you can see it's the same code that we already showed. And if we execute it, we can get something that will be really complicated to see for you, right? So you have this, let's go here again. So you have it here. It's a really small box that, of course, we can start to modify a little bit. So let's take a look, for example, for the same example, but adding a few other things. So here we are now defining a font. And this font we're using Titilium, that is the official font from Qt. There we are setting the point size, and luckily enough, the method to access this is set point size. And we are setting a font of size 20. Of course, the window that you saw also was quite small. So we are resizing the window with the resize method. Again, it's really straightforward. And the text was quite like to the left. So we are setting an alignment with the method called set alignment. As you can see, it's like even like speaking normal English for you. And we are aligning the object in the center. And then of course we are setting the font. So for this, let's take a look of the new version that we have here. And as you can see here, it's like a more nice interface that we have compared to the original one. So of course, this is the first example. Right, so we can take a look now to going back to the presentation. And here I wanted to show you right away, but please don't be scared, a more complicated code. And this code is called Simple Browser. So Simple Browser is an example that exists in Qt, and we try to port it and minimize it for this presentation. And also you can get it from the official repository. But here we have a little bit more complicated import statement, right? So here you have some weird stuff called Qt core, widgets, engine, widgets, whatever. So more or less for you to get familiar with this, the usual structure of Qt Python codes is like, do we have some kind of main when we start our application, the window, and then we display the window. And this will be a class that we will start to play around with just to have a simple browser. So let's go for it to see here. We have the terminal. So we have it, the same code here. As you can see at the top, it's exactly the same code. And now we can try to execute it. We have it here. So as you see, it's a simple browser. There is a lot of warnings there, but related to certificates and so on, because we wanted to keep it simple, right? I mean, we're not dealing with the proper features of the browser. And here you have a really simple browser. I mean, it's really simple to do it. And if you are tired of using your browser, then you can start to design your own. So let's go back to the presentation. So for here, you saw all these weird things called core GUI widgets. So if you're not familiar with Qt, don't worry about it. Usually, the idea behind these modules is quite simple. For the Qt core, we have all the elements that are not graphical classes that we will start to use. Okay. For the GUI, we have all the UI components. That makes sense. It's even like mnemotechnic. And for the widgets, guess what? We have the widgets for that. So every time that we want to use, for example, a button will be a widget, so we can use it from Qt widget module. But then if we have something a little bit more abstract, that maybe a color, then we go to the UI components, and so on and so forth. If you're not familiar with Qt, I invite you to go to maybe Qt.io and start to look into all the other modules that we have. Even in our website, we have all the information about which other modules are available also for PySide 2. I mean, we have their charts, multimedia, network, Qt Quick, and everything else. So for this, just go there and start to try your own examples. So you will, maybe if you are a little bit more familiar with Qt and Python, you see that there is something that is quite critical for the community, which is the coding style. Python, because of the PEP8, uses underscore variable names. And for this, of course, every time that we create variables or maybe functions, we use underscores to connect the concept. But you already saw that in the Qt examples, we have something like a set alignment. They were using camel case. And for this, I mean, we had a decision to make, like, what do we want to do? I mean, we want to modify all the Qt API and port it to Python, or we want to sacrifice this coding style from Python and put it in a Qt way. We decided to, why no both? And then we said, okay, every time that you are using something from the Qt API, we will leave the camel case scenario. And every time that we are doing something from the Python side, we are using the underscore approach. So you will have you will end up having code that the one that you can see at the bottom of the screen. Like, for example, if you have a label that is called title label, you use the underscore, and then you know that all the camel case methods are Qt API. So why was the reason behind this is quite simple. It's because every single application that is written in C++ will be really easy to transform to Python, to rewrite into Python, if we preserve the Qt API. And most of the examples that we have currently in our repository are because of the same idea. And we are just taking the C++ code and started to play around, to rewriting in Python, and the change is quite easy to do. So now I would like to go through a few examples. Maybe we will not have much time to go into detail of every single of them, but later on, maybe you will be able to access them and try it by yourself. So let's go for it. So here we have our console, and let's go first to take a look at the simple button example. So for this, you can see here at the beginning, we have some Python modules like the random and the sys module. And also we have another way to import the PySet modules. So we are not importing particular class from this module, but just a whole module. So we can use the code and writing like this. So as you can remember, we said that usually the structure of these scripts is the following. I mean, we have a main here when we start an application, and then we have some widget that we want to show as a main widget. We have some resize that also we learn it, and then we execute the application. So as you can see here, it's quite easy to understand what is happening. So let's go to my widget then, and then we can see that we have the constructor in Python. If you're not familiar with this, don't be scared. It's just a way to instantiate all the objects from a class in Python. Usually this is quite straightforward. So here is the place when you set up everything that you want to show or everything that you want to have like an internal variables. So here we have a simple list in Python with a couple of messages. And then we have a couple of widgets. We have a push button, then we have a label. We are setting, as you already know, the alignment of this label, and the same with the button, the layout, and we are adding this. So if you're familiar with Qt, this is really easy for you to understand because this is like exactly the same as the C++ case, but of course it's written in Python. And here we have something new. We mentioned how important was the signal and slots approach. So for this, we can see that we already have a button, and then we said, okay, the button will have a signal that is called clicked, and we will connect this signal to a slot. And what is the slot called? It's called magic. As you can see here in magic, since we are in the same class, we have access to all the things that we already defined. So then we are just setting the text of our label with a random choice from our list. So let's give it a try. So we have button here, we have it here hidden behind. So you have there the initial value, hello world, and some click me button. And then as soon as I started to click, then of course we have randomly choose the message that we want to show. Easy enough, right? So now that you are an expert in connecting signals from buttons, let's look at a little bit more complicated example. So here you can see a lot of imports again, that don't worry about understanding it now. But again, at the bottom, we have the same structure, but this example is called video player. And I guess that you already know what we are planning to do here. So we have, again, our constructor with a few items, some playlists, toolbar, buttons, actions, everything trying to be like placed there. We have a slider, and then we have a couple of methods that some of them will be slots that we can connect to certain signals. So let's give it a try. So we have it here. So it's a really simple media player. And of course, we can try to open something, have examples, and we have a simple video there. And of course, since you are not here, you cannot hear, but there's some sound in the video, and then you can control it with the slider and so on and so forth. So as you can see, the code was not really long. I mean, if we zoom out a little bit, don't worry about reading it. It's maybe right like 100 lines of code. So it's quite easy for writing a new media player, right? So of course, we already mentioned something about QML, right? We have QML that is to easily design things in a more simple way. So here, for example, I want to show you some code that has some QML code. It's an application that have different things. So we have the structure. If you're not familiar with it, don't worry about it. I mean, it's just a general interface that will have some windows with a certain layout that will contain text, buttons, sliders, and so on and so forth. So guess what? So we also can connect Qt for Python with QML. So here we have an application that is changing a little bit. So now our boilerplate code for the main is a little bit different, as you can see here. We are playing around with other type of application. Then we are starting our bridge to the QML world. And we can set which file we are using, which is the UI QML. Let me check if it's the same name. It's exactly the name. And then here in the class, we have something more fancy. So here you can see that all these methods now have this nice decorator here to slots. Is just to specify that we are using a slot in Qt. And we are doing some stuff with it. Because of course we can connect QML with Python. So let's start this example. As you can see here, maybe the font is a little bit small, so I can increase it for you to read it. And it's a really simple QML example, which is using material design. Maybe you're not familiar with it, but it's just this nice interface, as you can see, the colors and everything. And we can have a few simple functionalities that changing the color, changing the style of the text. And of course, this is being done from the Python side, then connecting again to QML. It's really nice, eh? So now, for example, let's go to look at something more visual, so more graphical. Look at this thing. So we have here, this is also a really typical example from Qt that it was easily rewritten in Python using the same idea that I have been describing before. We have here some kind of plots showing different type of data, and then we are changing all the properties that we have in this information. And it's quite simple to achieve. You can see here the code that is again following the same structure. Let me go to the button. The same structure that we discussed. We have here the main with some instantiation of the class. And again, in the class, we have, again, the constructor setting up things. We have some nice methods like to populate the theme box and adding all this option. As you can see here, again, we are preserving the Qt API. So it's quite easy to understand that here when it said add item, we are adding an item. Where we are an item to the theme, and theme is a combo box. Quite easy to follow. So we have all our well-restructured code there just to show you that also is possible to interact with charts. And again, with charts, of course, you can do more nice stuff like you can have some visualization user or module, and then you can, I don't know, just change some values. Whoops, it was rude. So then you can maybe 10 or something and modify your plots like live and with some nice animation of it. So of course, this is opening like many doors that if you are really working in data analysis, this is really a nice solution to have and to be able to integrate some kind of visual representation of some data that you already have. And again, if you are like more into showing more like nice information, maybe you can even use donut information. So here we have some just random numbers there just to display these examples. And also all these effects are also being done by porting the historical Qt examples to Python. And again, the code is following the same structure, imports, our class, constructor, some methods, and at the end we have this thing. This code is quite small, but so this is just a 130 page. Well, this is less than 100 because of course it's including all the comments at the beginning. And again, I mean, you have all these really nice examples. You can even have and play a little bit about 3D. We will not have much time to discuss it, but there are many examples that you can play around with OpenGL and 3D things because we have the modules also available in PySide. And something else that I will go really deep into it is something that is a possibility that we have from Python is that it's not only rewriting everything that we have in your code from C++ to Python. It's something that it's using Shiboken underneath, but also is using PySide tool. So this example is inside your repository, so you are able to, you can try it out after the webinar is finished. It's called scriptable application. So the overview of this application is, I have a C++ application, right? If you remember correctly, maybe from everything from C++, which looks quite similar to PySide, by the way. And then you will have some main windows that will have something. So this is pure Qt code, nothing else included. And what about if I want to extend my C++ application with Python? Well, with this example, we are able to do it. So let's take a look. Maybe we can try to generate a makefile and see if we can compile it. So the things we are doing now is to compile some the C++ code. So to be able and to work together with Shiboken and generate some kind of bindings for your projects. So here we will have a simple application. As you can see here, this is just a text edit box. We have many options like a normal C++ and a Qt C++ application, but inside this text edit, we have Python code. And guess what happened when I click run? There is some Python interpreter inside that is being executing these things. So what is this thing providing to you? That if you have any C++ application that is using Qt and you want to somehow extend it, you can easily do this with Shiboken or binding generator, because we decided that it was a really nice idea for you to have access to this technology that we currently have. Of course, as Qt, all our code is open source, and I really encourage you to take a look after this webinar so you can contribute, or you have any ideas that can improve this project, let us know. So why using Qt for Python? I mean, if of course C++ is so fast and is so used in many companies. Well, you are aware of the simplicity and robustness of Python. And every time that you read some news online, everything, there is some Python going behind, analyzing data, running simulations, everything. And also Qt for Python would be a really easy way to connect Qt for different Python modules. And since it's Python and you don't need to go through the compiling process, you can even say, okay, I just want this to prototype my application. And since of course I have something really complicated that I cannot change in C++, maybe you want to prototype in Python and then start to rewrite your prototype in C++ and use it without any problem. See, since again, we are preserving the Qt API. And the last example that I mentioned was that you can extend application with scripts. That is quite nice, and it's something that we are working on with Qt Creator, so stay tuned for any news regarding that. And again, we will try to push Qt for Python to be properly integrated with all the other Qt projects goodies. So just a brief overview of the status that we have. Qt for Python is now released under the technical preview tag. So this means that we are still testing things out, but it's available to use from Qt servers. You can download the Python packages called wheels, or you can even install it simply by running pip install PySide 2 on Windows, Mac, and Linux. Lately, we have only one update, which is a wheels compatible with 5.11.1. And our official plan is to wait until Qt 5.12 is released. So maybe after a couple of days, we'll be able to finally release the Qt for Python 5.12 version. And of course, as any Qt product, we are having a commercial and a GPL2 or GPL3 licenses available. So still will be open source, and we are really actively developing Qt for Python. So we invite you all to join our free node channel, Qt PySide, or if you want to join our mailing list, then you have a short link that you can visit later. And of course, our website, Qt.io, Qt for Python, or pyside.org for our wiki. So now I would like to introduce to Alex, which is another person involved with Qt for Python project. that we will discuss about the question that maybe you have and already submit to the stream.
Hi, this is Alex. So I've been trying to answer some of the questions based on the presentation already, and I will hope to go through all questions. Based on what I have as backlog, it's probably not going to happen, but I try to group them a bit. So let's start with the first set of questions. What is the licensing model for PySite going to be at the moment and in the future?
So at the moment, I mean, we have only the open source version, but once it's released, as we saw here in the slide, we will have that have a commercial approach like Qt does, and the GPL2 or GPL3 license, which is open source.
Mm-hmm. Can you comment on the differences between Qt for Python and PyQt 5 bindings? How hard is it to port PyQt to Qt Python? And the similar question, PySite 1 to PySite 2 porting.
Okay, so first the porting. So the changes from PySite 1 to PySite 2, which are the same changes from Qt 4 and Qt 5, are mainly some rearrangement of modules. So we saw many modules that come from Qt widgets, for example, that in the past were from maybe Qt GUI. So the change, as the documentation states, from Qt 4 to Qt 5 is quite easy. And it's just rearrangement. If you have already a PySite 1 code, you can just change and verify if the import statements make sense. So regarding PyQt 5, which is another set of binding for Python, the main difference that we have is that, of course, we are using a different binding generation, but both projects are exposing the same Qt bindings. There are some really specific classes that are present in one module or the other, and I invite you to visit pysite.org. There we have an explicit section that is open for the public for you to compare and to see all the classes that we already have implemented in Qt for Python and the ones that are in PyQt 5. So you can freely set and see and verify that if you have some comparison there. And on the code point of view, if your application is not so complicated, it's just changing the import statement. Instead of using PyQt 5, you can use PySite 2. And there is a couple of other details that things that are maybe a little bit advanced for some of our audience, but if you want to use some personalized slots or personalized signals, then there is a change in the name of the method that in PyQt is called PyQt signal, and for us it's called signal. But besides this, it's quite similar. Alex?
Okay, then we have a question group that talks about deployment. So can you please comment on how one can build and deploy for macOS, Windows, iOS, Android with Qt for Python? And related, does it work on Android and iPhone and Material UI design?
Okay, yes, many questions, but okay, so first of all, deployment. So deployment so far, we have it inside our timeline, but it's not something that we will be able to release for 5.12. But it is something that we are really keen to implement because as Python developers, we know how useful it would be for the community. So at the moment, there have been a lot of discussions in our Qt PySite free node channel for people that is trying to experience this with using, for example, a PyInstaller to kind of freeze your application and be able to move it around to different platforms and so on and so forth. So at the moment, we only have a little bit experience with PyInstaller, and you are more than free to join the discussions and see maybe to help us to which type of features you would like to have for deploy Qt for Python applications. And regarding mobile, even though I really want to bring this thing, it is still as nice to have features. We are focusing now on the release with considering the main Qt classes. But of course, after a while, since all the mobile integration is inside Qt, we will be able to provide bindings. So, but you will need to stay tuned about it because I think that maybe next year we can even try to maybe give a nice update on mobile development.
Okay. Will you provide the different Qt modules as separate Python packages on PyPy?
Okay, yes. One of the main concerns by the people is that when we release our first set of wheels, they were huge. They still are because we are shipping everything there. As a technical preview, we really wanted to just ship everything we had, leave it for the community to try it out and report any issue that they have. But there's a lot of effort being done now since a couple of weeks ago to be able to split this, the PySide 2 module. So our plan is to provide a PySide 2 wheel. Then, for example, separately, we have the Shiboken executable, the binary generation. Also, we have the Shiboken module in PySide because there are also some things that you can do. And since you are able to build PySide using just certain modules, we are not really maybe we are really thinking of like maybe we can provide some kind of like basic wheels which contain the core GUI and widgets classes, and then you can, for example, get new modules on demand or something. But this is something that we are still researching, and we will be, at least for the release, we are more than certain that we will like have Shiboken and PySide 2 separately.
Can it be used with WebAssembly?
No, so far we only have compatibility with Web Engine, which is the only web thing that since WebAssembly is also quite new in the Qt environment, we haven't had the chance to play around with it. But I mean, at least we have been contacted by the team that there is a lot of interest for people using WebAssembly that to try to mix it out with Python. So it's another feature that we really would like to have soon.
Is it possible to connect C++ Qt signals to PySide slots?
Yes, if I am not correct. The only there is a couple of features here about the parameters that you are passing by, but yes, it should be. But you will require a little bit of digging into this because you will need to be able to provide some kind of binding for it. So to whoever did that question, I recommend you to take a look in the examples that we have for the webinar, which is a scriptable application. And also there is simple binding that to look into that, because you will need to generate a little bit of bindings for your C++ signals or slots that you want to connect.
Okay, a couple of short questions. Support for Python 3.7?
Yes. Is the patch, as soon as Python 3.7 was announced, one of our developers started to port everything that we have to be compatible with Python 3.7, and even he found a bug on the Python side. So we are happy to collaborating with the Python community. So we are, I mean, even personally, I develop every day using Python 3.7 on my machine. And yes, so we are compatible with Python 3.5 or higher, and one of the latest 2.7, sorry.
Do you support all Linux distributions?
Yeah, so far we have had a discussion with people using Gentoo, Ubuntu, Debian, Arc, yeah, so I think it's most of them. And even in some of them, there is already official packages that are really splitting the package up and providing some features. So yeah, I mean, this is mainly supported.
Does PySide 2 integrate or interoperate with PyCharm?
Yes, I mean, you can have the only issue that we have reported, and is that, I mean, you can have everything you want, like autocompletion and everything. It's something that will be available for the release of PySide 2, which is the type hints, which is something, if you're from to the person that did this question, is that if you're familiar with it, it's just to some hints when you are curious about which type goes to each class. But at least autocompletion and everything else, you can find it like without any problem. PyCharm or any other IDE.
A couple of Qt creator questions. First one, creator, where does it fit in general?
Well, at the moment, there is a lot of development on providing, I mean, you know, Qt is open source, so you can take a look that there is a lot of efforts implementing the language server protocol, which is something that will bring for free Python highlighting, autocompletion, type hints, everything on Qt Creator. And the other plan that we have is that if you are familiar with writing plugins for Qt Creator, it's a little bit complicated because it's really high C++ code that is sometimes it's not really easy to understand. And for this, now we have some research and we have some proof of concepts that we are providing an interface to develop Python plugins on Qt Creator. So this is the way of they are playing around.
Is there any timeline on that work?
Well, we would like to have it as soon as possible, of course, but we will try to do our best. Maybe we can have some surprises for the official release of PySite 5.12, but I'm quite confident that we will manage to give you something.
Is it possible to achieve the same performance using Qt for Python and using Qt C++?
There was, I mean, so maybe we're going a little bit technical here, but the way that the binding works is that inside each method that we have, we are calling the C++ functions. So all the overhead, all the speed up that you have in C++, you could have it like, well, of course, it will not be the same because we have some code that is executing the C++ code. But for example, just to give you something, an overview of this, that there was an issue time ago with populating some table widgets on the performance issues, and we managed to tackle that really fast. And now I think it is something about milliseconds. I mean, the connection that you can get from using Python to C++. So if you are doing something that is like really performance consuming from C++, you can expect having similar behavior from the Python. We don't have all the issues that sometimes Python has.
How does one debug a Qt for Python application? For pure Python, I can see how about a mixed C++ Python application?
Yeah, well, that's one of our everyday tasks. Sometimes when they want to discover something that you need to debug by phases. Usually for the binding itself, you need to have a Python compile with PyDebug, and then you can have access to everything you have there to see more or less where do you have all the issues that are happening. So for this, I highly recommend, if you want to debug application, to have a local build of PySite 2, so building from scratch. And also if maybe you can have the sources of Qt, so it can help you to understand if you want to go deeper to understand what is happening behind Qt. But it should work like out of the box. For the scalable application, for example, then you need to just use a C++ debugger on top of the C++ application, and that will give the work, because the Python side of these extensions is just pure C. I mean, Python is written in C Python, so you will have access to the same things with the C++ debugger.
Two related questions for creator and designer. What's the difference between creator and designer, and can Python be used for both? And then similar, I really enjoy using Qt creator design layouts. Can it still be done with Python applications?
Yes, well, if this Qt designer, they are referring to the graphical resource to create interface in Qt Creator. Yes, I mean, of course, there is support to generate the UI file there, and I think that I wanted to provide an example, but maybe I forgot. But you are able to show, for example, let me give you. Here, for example, here in the charts example that we were discussing, you can see here that there is a UI file. And then, of course, this was designed using the Qt designer. So, of course, we understand that some interfaces are really complicated to do, and you need to use the designer. And then, from Python, you can just import them using the following. So, it's here. So here we have an access to the UI, and UI, this is automatically being imported from here because we provide an executable that is called PySite2 UIC. And of course, then this will transform the theme widget.ui to the UI theme widget. So you can use it, of course, at the same as you do with this is generated code, and then you can easily import it. You can import it also directly to your Python code and do everything like dynamically, but it's up to you. What do you want to use?
Mm-hmm. Question, we're talking about deployment and discussions around that. Where do they happen? So maybe extend that question to where's the general development discussion happening?
Yeah, we are trying to keep an eye on all the platform that we have. But mainly everything happen in the free node channel. If you are not really familiar with IRC, you can find in our wiki page in paisa.org, you can find information how to join to the IRC channel through other applications, like for example, Gitter, which is something that you can use with your GitHub account. But most of the discussion is being done there. Also, there are some people that prefer the old school method of sending email arounds, and maybe they have a discussion there. But if you want maybe fast responses, quick responses, sorry, you need to go to IRC.
After developing a UI, can I create an executable, aka exe, desktop application with QPython?
Well, I mean, for this, I mean, you will need to use external tools, right? So you will need to use, like, for example, the thing that we discussed, which is a PyInstaller. And with this, you will be able to deploy this application and maybe an exe file and just move it around with different Windows computers, for example, or maybe a binary in Linux, and you want to bring it out to another Linux machine with the same architecture. So you will need to use external things.
Is there any functionality with PySide to run Python code from the C++ portion of an application?
Not directly. The thing that we are providing you is for the tool to generate the bindings. But if you want to do something at the level of executing Python code from C++, you will need to call your CPython functions by yourself. And please, to the person to ask this, just go to the examples that is called scriptable application, and then you will figure out in the source code how we are, for example, executing these portions of Python script that we already showed in the example.
Can we transfer an application made using Qt on a microcontroller?
No, at the moment, we have not tried to start any research on embedded devices. A lot of people is asking about it. So if you have some knowledge, you can maybe join the IRC channel and maybe together we can try to find a solution for this. But so far, I have only heard stories of people trying to even getting a PySide 2 on embedded system, but I don't have experience with that.
Any example of Qt for Python with async IO?
Async IO, it's one of the things that we are working on currently. So yeah, at the moment, we don't have any examples. We didn't have a support. There are some external libraries that try to achieve this, but I invite you to go to our bug tracker, bugsreports.qt.io. There is already a task there that we will need to continue developing to provide support for async IO in Qt for Python.
Sorry, one moment here. We are getting close to the top of the hour, so if we just want to do maybe 2 or 3 more questions, and then those of them that we don't get to, I will be sending them to any of the account reps for the people that are on this webinar, so that we can maybe get the answer to you afterwards.
Okay.
There's one category of questions. Will you support Anaconda for PySide 2 installations? And there was a similar question earlier.
Well, at the moment, we have been in touch with Anaconda people, but there are some minor issues about how they distribute packages. We have a couple of collaborators that they're really pushing forward to the Anaconda developers to be fully compatible with our packaging. And as far as I know, there are a couple of packages in Anaconda for using PySide 2. I think that there is still a couple of issues that is being discussed with the Anaconda developers, but besides it should work out of the box.
Compatibility question. How is the version compatibility between PySide 2 and the natively built Qt libraries?
In like performance-wise, or?
Well, that's all I have. So let's.
Well, yeah, I mean, performance-wise, we have not done any benchmark on this, and maybe it will be something really useful. Maybe if you're interested in this, and we can maybe work on it. But I haven't noticed a difference. We have tried like all the examples, and even like more heavy applications, and we have not noticed anything. From code-wise, it's quite similar because we are presenting, of course, the Qt API, but with PySide 2, you will have less lines and less things to worry about, of course, and you don't need some special makefile or something. So, yeah.
Okay. Let's see, a couple of last questions. I think we answered the one about packaging for the platforms. Lots of deployment questions we have. So just trying to find anything juicy still that we haven't had so far.
Yeah, and even besides, Erika said that maybe you can send your discussions. I really encourage you to join the Qt PySide channel, because at the beginning there was just a little people, and now we have a lot of people. So there's every day at least there is some discussion about something new, and of course there are really experienced users out there that they're usually solving questions. So if you have more questions after this, maybe you can just join the channel and ask them.
Okay, so then I'll try to summarize a couple of questions, but what's the plan going forward for 5.12?
Well, I mean, our main concerns is, of course, to solve all the major data conversion that we have currently. That because, of course, you need to have a proper behavior between the Python types and C++ types. There are still a couple of issues that is open, but they're really like precise things that will not affect any like the normal application. And besides this, we really want to keep the rhythm of the development of Python itself. So one of the things that we have, besides, of course, all the other tasks about splitting the packages and everything, we want to focus on deployment and new Python features, like, for example, the async IO thing. And after that, of course, I mean, as the Qt project we are driven by the community. So as soon as we have a lot of discussions on RSC or mailing list, we are more than happy to include more features for the future plans of the project.
That sounds great. Yeah, and I think we are close enough to the top of the hour. So like Christian said, I think if you want to join, and I put out the link to join the mailing list. And I know, Christian, you have here on the screen the link to join the mailing list. As well as, you know, the different sites here to join the community. So what we're going to do is in the next couple business days, we will be following up with this recording to everyone who registered for this event. If you are on Facebook Live, though, just a quick reminder, can you please register on the link below so that we can get you that recording? Also, we'll make sure that all these questions are given to the account rep. So if you are working with one from the Qt company, they will be able to help and continue the conversation with you. Finally, I would like to thank both Alex and especially Christian, for putting together this whole presentation. Yeah, and you know, thank you everyone for joining us. And we, like Christian said, we'll have some future webinars on the Qt for Python project.
Cool. Thank you very much for everyone for joining.
Thank you. Bye-bye.